In lesson 7.7, we're going to be working with exponential and power functions. You can see that our equations are very similar. They're slightly different. Each one, the exponential versus the power, are going to yield a different graph. For our exponential model, remember that exponential growth means that b is greater than 1. And for decay, we know we're going to have a fraction, so that means that b is going to be less than 1 and greater than 0. In our power model, notice that the b and the x values have switched places. We're going to start with an exponential example. And here we have the equation. We have our x and our y, and we're just going to sub those in. So that gives us 10 is equal to AB, and the x value is the power, so that's a power of 1. Now we're going to do the same thing with the 4 and 80. Because we have two variables, a and b, we need two equations. If we had 3 variables, then we would need 3 equations and so on. So my next equation is going to be y is equal to 80 equals AB, and the x value is 4. I'm going to go back to the first equation, and we're going to get the a on the side all by itself. So if I divide both sides by b, we end up with a is equal to 10 over b. Now that I know a is equal to 10 over b, I can substitute this value into my second equation. So we'll end up with 80 equals, and then instead of the a, we're going to put in 10 over b times, and we have to bring the b to the 4th power down. Now we can subtract our exponents because we have division. So that's going to give us 80 equals 10b cubed. Divide both sides by 10. 8 equals b cubed. And we ask ourselves, what times what times what, because it's raised to the 3rd power, would give us 8, so b equals 2. Now this value, b equals 2, we're going to put it into this expression. So instead of 10 divided by b, it's 10 divided by 2, so a is equal to 5. And now we're ready to write our equation. So remember, this is the form that we want it to look like. So we end up with y equals, the a value is 5 times the b value is 2, and it's raised to the power of x. And we're going to leave it separated because of PEMDAS. It says exponents first, so we cannot combine the 5 and the 2. We have to leave them separated. Now we're going to use the same ordered pairs, 110 and 480, on the next slide, and see how we can put those into the calculator and get a graph. All right, so here we're just going to be using the same ordered pairs that were used on the previous slide. Sometimes you might be given an entire table of values, but you would use the same process. So grab your calculator, and we're going to go ahead and work through the problem. So it says enter the points into stat. So we're going to go to the stat button, and then it already has edit, and that's what we want. So we're going to choose that, and then we have L1 and L2. So the L1 will represent my x's. That's important when we turn on our stat plot. And the L2 will be our y's. So because my ordered pair was 110, I have x is 1, y is 10, we have x is 4, y is 80. If I wanted to clear these, I would go up to the L2, I would hit clear, and enter. But I don't want to clear these. I already have them all set. Okay, so hopefully you either paused or you went ahead and put these values in. So then step 2 says turn on our stat plot. So we're going to hit the second key, and then it says stat plot in blue, which is the y equals key. And I already have mine on, so I'm good there. And you can see I have my X is L1, my Y list is L2, my plot 1 is on. I'm going to hit graph. And I've already done this problem, so you should have just 2 points on your screen. And if you can't see those 2 points, then you're going to go to zoom and then hit 9. And then it makes your screen a little bit bigger for you. So once we see the 2 points, in my case I already have my line, we're going to go to stat again, and we're going to scroll over to calc. And here's where we used to use linear regression, but we want to use exponential regression. So we are going to go down to, I think it's 0. Oops, I passed it. There it is, it's 0. We're going to go there, and we're going to hit enter. Hit enter again. Look at, here's my equation, y equals a times b raised to the power of x. Remember on our last screen we said a equals 5, we said b equals 2. So that's exactly what we got by doing it by hand. But now we want to graph it. So we're going to go to the y equals, and then we're going to enter 5 times, and it was 2 raised to the power of x. And then when we hit graph, this time you'll see the curve on your calculator. If you were given an entire table of values, and let's say x values represented number of years, and you were asked to predict what was going to happen in year 10, then we would take our values and then just change the x to 10 or whatever value they're asking you to predict. All right, so on this slide we're looking at the power model. So our exponent is b, and I just took screenshots of my calculator. You should have your calculator out and pause the recording as we go through these steps. But the first step says enter the values into stat plot, just like we did before. And remember, to clear it, you would just highlight the L1, clear, enter, and then highlight the L2, clear, and enter, and then just type in your new values. And then we're going to graph, and then you'll probably have to hit zoom 9 so that you can actually see what it looks like. And that would be this picture here. Then when we go to the stat, and then you scroll over to calc, and then you're going to scroll down to power reg. And once you get there, we're going to hit enter. I think I hit enter twice. And you should get something like this. And it's a little bit small to read, but it says the same equation that we have here, and then it has our a value and our b value. So then you're going to write your equation. So your equation is y equals 397.609, and then we end up with x, and it's raised to the power of negative 0.639. That's our equation. So we'll end up going to the y equals button, and we type in our equation. And the screen kind of cut off my last little 9 on the end. and then we're going to enter and hit graph, and hopefully this is what you end up with. So I think it would be wise to make sure that you wrote down the steps for entering the values into your calculator, and when you're supposed to hit the power reg, or when you're supposed to hit the EXP reg.